Hi, I'm Rebecca Olson, CEO of the Maryland Association of CPAs. This year, we're thrilled to once again host the MACPA Foundation's Women to Watch Awards. We're excited to celebrate 30 amazing female leaders in our profession. And these awards not only recognize their success and contributions, but also inspire the next generation of leaders. Join me now for a brief interview with one of our incredible honorees, and we hope to see you in person on September 26th at our Women to Watch Awards breakfast.
Sure. So my name is Chanel Trussell. I have been in the accounting field for over 25 years, a lot of that in many different industries, such as higher ed and manufacturing and nonprofit. Um, I had a very, I guess, humble beginning in terms of my career. I started off without my degree. I decided to have a family first and go that route. And so it took me a while to have my education to finally catch up with my experience. So that was really an accomplishment for me to be able to do that. And I also volunteer. I like to give back to the community. And I also I have a husband. I have two sons, two adult sons. I'm also a grandmother.
Oh,
Um,
wow, congratulations.
thank
That's awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. She's two. I am
Oh,
Gigi.
yeah.
So yes, so she's the love of my life, as well as all of them are, but for sure her. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm at CLA now and have been for the last year and a half. And so I'm just looking at how I can continue to develop my career as well as give back to those who are coming after me.
That's awesome. And I knew I had worked with you in the past, but in a different capacity. So
Correct.
you are also a professor, which
That's
I
correct.
just think is so cool.
Yes,
Tell
and
us a little bit.
I
You
didn't
didn't
even
say that.
remember that.
Yeah, you have so many roles. Tell us a little bit what made you want to do that as part.
So
It's another job, really.
yeah. So as I'm going through my career and all of my undergrad and graduate studies were online.
Mm.
So I knew there were times where I would reach out to an instructor and they didn't respond, or, I basically had to try to figure things out myself. So I said, you know what? If it ever comes a time when I am an instructor, I want to be visible.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm still online, I'm teaching online, but I understand the online student, right? I understand what they're dealing with. Many of them have multiple challenges and things like that. So it's a special situation because you have to be motivated, you have to be disciplined. And so by me having that experience on the other side of the screen, I'm able to bring that experience and say, hey, this is what I think might help you, and kind of give them that insight along with teaching. I've always wanted to teach. And
Mhm.
so having the ability to work in accounting, which is my favorite field, and teach it and impart that knowledge on future accountants is just phenomenal.
That is awesome. We need more of you out there, but just so grateful for your passion and energy that
Mm.
you take that on as another job, but
Yeah,
to really
thank
invest back in our profession.
you.
I'm going to skip around a little bit because I think
Sure.
this question comes right up then is you've seen the profession evolve and change, and I'm sure you've given so much advice to students in the past. What are you telling students now? What would you tell someone, maybe in particular a young woman that's thinking about accounting or starting their career? What would you tell them?
Sure. So I actually was asked this question a few weeks ago.
Okay.
We have interns in our office. Well, we had them over the last few weeks. And so I took the opportunity to kind of sit down with them when I could, to have lunch with them and just kind of get into their world a little bit.
Yeah.
And so they asked, they said, well, what advice would you give me if I were going into my first job? And so I thought that was an interesting question. And I remember the first thing that I said was, be a sponge.
Mm.
Learn everything that you can. Don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people are always thinking when you ask questions, it makes you look like you don't know anything. That's baloney.
Yeah.
You want to ask questions that I think your leaders can appreciate that piece of you doing that. Always understand why something's being done and don't be afraid of change. It's harder
Mm,
to say that, harder to do than to say, but change is going to be a part of our industry and just worldwide, right? So we're going to have to deal with that and be able to understand and manage that change.
yeah. And I'm sure being a professor, you have been a role model, a mentor to so many. But I'm curious if you had someone who inspired you and really mentored you in this career journey, amazing journey that you've had.
Sure, sure. So I can't really say I've had a mentor per se in that definition, I
Yeah.
suppose. However, when I was a teenager, I remember my best friend's father and my cousin. They both owned their own accounting practices.
Okay.
And to be honest, it was just looking at them and how well they were doing financially. It was sort of like,
Interesting.
that
I
looks
like
like
it.
something interesting that I could look at. And
Yeah.
so, but once I started to learn what it was all about, my friend's father had an accounting practice that did tax. My cousin was more on the consulting side.
Okay.
So I was able to kind of dig into both of those worlds and realize that I don't particularly care for tax. But I did like the consulting piece and just being able to help the client and to solve their problems, right? And to help them along. So that made me really interested in getting into the field and seeing how then I can help other clients to kind of go, get do well in their business, right?
Yeah.
Um, I would say that this current program that CLA has, which is they assign you a career coach
Oh, wow.
when you're like shortly after you're hired, and I would say this is probably the best example that I can give. um, I've always had, unfortunately, negative experiences that would then kind of fuel me to move into to make me better, I should say.
Yeah.
But this is different because this is where people kind of come alongside of you to help you with your career goals, get you thinking about, what you want to do next and how you want to, grow. They give you feedback. And so just being that advocate, right, for your growth in your career, I think is
Yeah.
just phenomenal. So I would say that the people who are in that role have really helped me and been instrumental in my recent advancement at CLA.
That's amazing. Yeah. What a resource and a investment in their team. That's amazing. And
Absolutely.
what a good reminder of your friend's dad and your cousin that students are always watching.
That's it.
So how you carry yourself, all of that has an impact on the pipeline and workforce
Absolutely.
development. You never know who's
Mhm.
watching. Love that. What would you say is the accomplishment or the status or something that you're most proud of in your career?
Sure, sure. So the biggest I would say is, as I mentioned earlier a little bit, is the ability to bring my education alongside my experience, right?
Mm,
Starting off in my career, it was on the job learning everything, and I didn't have the degree in the beginning to match that. So being able to do that was really a large accomplishment for me.
that's
Secondly, would be the ability to advance in every role that I've pretty much had, being able to move up the ranks and learn more and be able to do more. And I would say passing the CPA exam by far,
yeah.
one of the largest accomplishments. I was very afraid of taking the exam. I decided to go the MBA route first and try to do everything except for take the exam. But finally, I said, you know what, enough is enough. I rolled my sleeves up, and I tell people there's two numbers that I will never forget: 783 and 9. I studied for 783 hours over the course of 9 months to pass
Wow.
the CPA exam. And yes, I tracked every hour.
That is amazing and congratulations because and I love doing these interviews too because I've only had two so far, but both of them have been non-traditional paths,
Mhm.
right? And I think sometimes, especially for students that see people that have ascended to different leadership roles, they don't always see the path that got them there. So they assume what it looked like and that it was this easy straight line. And
No.
it never is it? And so congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your journey. And just we're so grateful to have you part of the profession.
Thank
So at MACPA, we're on this journey ourselves
you. Mhm.
to really help change the narrative in the profession,
Mhm.
change the narrative about the profession, how we're perceived, and really focusing on purpose. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes there's certain professions or industries where it's very clear, you know, what you do and why you do it. And the CPA, because we're so wide and the breadth of what you can do with that CPA is so a huge, sometimes that gets lost. So I'm curious, what would you say is your CPA purpose? What motivates you?
Sure. So I would say that my CPA purpose is to be a beacon of light to those
Mm.
coming after me, right? By letting my light shine and being transparent with my challenges and successes, I can encourage and inspire others, right? To not give up and continue to persevere because this is not an easy field to be in. There's a lot to learn, a lot to know. But you set the goals, continue to work hard and move forward. So as I spend time mentoring those future accountants and even those who are experienced accountants. We can all learn from each other. And so that's my purpose is to continue to learn and grow so that I can help others do the same.
What an amazing purpose. So the last question, hopefully an easy one. I want you to fill in this blank, right? Because we have two categories of women to watch honorees. We have experienced leaders and we have emerging leaders, but that
Mhm.
common word is leader. And
Yes.
so being a leader means what to you?
So being a leader means first knowing how to serve.
Mm.
Servant leadership is what's required today. We have been through a whole lot in this country. We have survived a pandemic. We've had other challenges, disruption in the industry and otherwise. But people want to know that they're supported. They want to be encouraged. They want to know that leaders are not there to just be a taskmaster and manage, but they want people to walk alongside them and help them to grow. Yeah, we have to do some management as leaders, but overall, we want to make sure that we're coaching, mentoring, empowering, supporting, and being transparent because we don't have all the answers. We don't have everything figured out, but we can have that servant mentality to say, we're not here, we haven't arrived. We're coming alongside you to see how we can work together. And once you understand that, then people will follow.